I've been waiting a long time to do a review of this motorcycle because I wanted to own it for a year and I wanted to get some time under my belt about what, I guess you could say, dual sport riding is, what it's about. I think I've owned this bike for just under a year now. My background in riding has never been off-road. I've always been on the road and I've always been interested in sport bikes. So my experience and my viewpoint comes from that. You know, an experienced off-roader might have a totally different opinion of this motorcycle, and that's fine. I consider myself novice to off-roading, and so I think maybe my opinion will be useful to the guys looking to get into this, wondering if this is a good option for them, because this is a pretty cheap dual sport bike. There's cheaper ones, but as far as 650s go, it's like you got this or you got a KLR. Those are your options. So anyway, let's talk about what I paid and what this bike's got done to it. Paid $3,300. Got a smog system removed from it. It was rejetted. It had a performance exhaust installed and a performance air filter. Overall, probably about $400 or $500 worth of parts. And so, like, the bike only had 2,500 miles on it. Had all that shit done to it, but it was a little rough looking. Like, he had dropped it several times, you could see. But that's what I wanted. I wanted a bike that I could beat up, because I knew I'd for sure be dropping it. And I have done that quite a bit. I think during my ownership, this thing has hit the ground probably 8 times, maybe more than that. But yeah, anyway, so I feel like I was getting a good deal. Like, it's a bike that's mechanically sound, low miles. I have no idea what a stock XR650L feels like. But this one's pretty quick. I compare the way it accelerates to the Honda Interceptor that I have. Although I believe that motorcycle has 70 horsepower. I'm sure this does not have 70 horsepower. I think a lot of people have different opinions of what a dual sport is, and I've had people tell me this is not a dual sport. Fine, if that's what you think, fine, but this machine is capable of riding at highway speeds and also capable of riding in obnoxiously rough locations. I'm going to go over pros and cons of this motorcycle on-road and pros and cons of this bike off-road in my experience. Since I'm off-road currently, let's talk about off-road performance. The seat height on this thing is really high. I don't have a number for you, but it's fucking high. When I stand next to it, my seat probably comes up above my groin far enough that when I get on it, I have to kind of get flexible. That actually falls into a con for me and my comfort level, but technically I think you could say that it's a pro because it buys you an enormous amount of ground clearance, and I think that's the reason why Honda did it. This probably has more ground clearance than almost any other dual sport you can buy. It does not come with a skid plate, but I've never worried about bashing it. I think the ground clearance is actually good when you're moving fast over rocks, but every other situation, when you're moving slow over rocks or slow over anything or slow on a switchback or anywhere else, it's awful. It's absolutely horrible, and I am getting to the point now where I'm willing to sacrifice what I feel like I'm gaining from the ground clearance level just so I can avoid crashing so much. I mean, I drop the fucking bike all the time, and it's always because I can't get my feet on the ground. Okay, I'm pretty sure most human males are under 6 feet tall, and you have to be to comfortably flat-foot this motherfucker. if you're of normal height, sit on one of these, and if you can, ride it, and if you can, ride it off-road, and see how you feel, because there are lowering links available for them. That's something you would probably definitely need or want, unless you like to waddle and straddle and fall off and drop your motorcycle. So anyway, ground clearance is a pro and it's a con. Riding position, great. I think it's great. I mean, I do come from riding sport bikes, although my Interceptor has an upright riding position, and the Ninja 300 that I owned briefly, that was pretty upright. But this is comfortable. It's kind of hard to stand when you're riding on this. The stock location of the handlebars, it's a little bit low. When you're riding, it feels comfortable, but if you stand up, you kind of have to hunch. Like right now, you can't tell, but I'm hunched a little bit with my arms straight just to hold the bars. I usually just hover over the seat a little bit, and that's good enough for me. Some guys like to fully stand and everything, whatever. Just saying, you gotta bend over. And of course, if you're 6 foot, like I was just talking about, you're really gonna have to bend over. So obviously there's bars available for this, but the stock ones are kind of shit. The weight of this machine, it's heavy, man. Combine that with not being able to put your feet down, and you've got a recipe for an uncomfortable situation and a potentially dangerous situation, because if you're out on your own and you drop this thing and you can't pick it up, or you do pick it up and you hurt your back, or you hurt your arms, or you hurt your shoulders, and again, if you're a pro or whatever, the weight, you could work with it, you just have to fucking haul ass. That's the way you gotta do it, because you gotta get that mass moving and you gotta keep it sailing into the rocks and into the dirt, and that's the best way. But for me, I don't like it. I know this machine is very capable. I just, it's not very capable of me on it. Now, the size of this thing, the riding position, the power that it has, the luggage capacity that it has, it all adds up to a really versatile bike. Like, I could tour with this if I wanted to. You just get the right stuff and you can tour with it. Whew. Let's see, what are the other pros and cons of it off-road? I don't know, man. Feels pretty good. I think this is pretty solid off-road. It's just the weight, the height, the bar height. Those are things I don't like. Power is good, more than adequate. I usually keep this thing revving low because I have I don't know, I'm always nervous about my fuel range. At low RPM, it's got enough torque to move you. You know, up a hill, down a hill, flat ground, whatever you want, man. This thing is fucking tough. And that's another area that this bike excels in. Yep, it just starts and it goes. It's amazing. Solid piece of machinery, and I trust it. That's probably my favorite thing about this motorcycle, is like, it feels like you could put it through hell and it'll still get you home. So, on the road, this bike is actually pretty good. 60 miles an hour faster, it's unpleasant. The cylinder beats you up, it vibrates the bars, it vibrates everything. The wind beats you up, the wind noise beats you up. However, below 60, like up to about 50 or 55 miles an hour, this would make an awesome commuter bike, in my opinion. Like, right now you can't tell, but like when I'm in traffic, I can see over all of the cars. The upright riding position and narrow waist of this bike allows you to kind of wiggle your way in between cars if you wanted to. You can, whenever I come to a right-hand turn, if somebody's not turning right, sometimes I can just snake past them, take a right, but it's just like you can, the upright riding position allows you to turn and look and like check all your blind spots. You can turn, look behind you real easy. My bike only has one mirror and has no turn signals, and I've never really felt like I had a problem seeing or communicating my intentions to anyone. Oddly enough, when you're in twisties like this, it feels really fast. You can get it leaned over pretty good. It doesn't inspire confidence when you're on the road. The ride height kind of makes it feel unstable, but that's probably a combination of the height and the soft suspension. But you still feel like you're a boss. But yeah, I like it on the road. It makes me feel like the Terminator, like I'm fucking unstoppable, dude. Like, if you want, you can cross a median, you can jump a curb, you can ride on a sidewalk. Nobody is standing in your way. You can do whatever the fuck you want, technically speaking. The law might say different things. It just makes you feel good. It's a good feeling bike. I love it though. My favorite thing to do with this bike is that I can just take off in that dirt and everything is fine. The suspension takes it, the tires take it. You can go from 40 miles an hour on a road to just blasting off-road without a care in the world. And that feels really good. Now, when I moved out here, I had the Ninja 300, which is a motorcycle that I traded the ZX6R for, because I thought I'd be able to flip it for a profit. Anyway, long story short, I sold that, and I decided, instead of getting another sport bike, to try dirt bikes. I wanted to try a dual sport, since there's so much desert here to explore. I wanted to be able to go and explore it, but all I really visualized doing was, you know, taking off a main road and exploring a patch of dirt. Like, I think I've surpassed any of my own expectations of myself, what I planned on doing with it, and I've been to places I didn't think I'd ever go. I just think I want something smaller. I want a bigger bike for adventure touring and a littler bike for exploring in the dirt. But I hate touring bikes, frankly. I've never wanted one in my life. I think they're practical, yes. They got everything you need and more, but they're dorky. There's no easy way to say it. Adventure touring bikes are kind of dorky. So I've been thinking what I'm going to do is probably get a VFR Interceptor in addition to this bad boy, and either sell this and get a smaller bike, or keep it. I don't know. I need an on-road sport bike that's comfortable enough to get me on the highway long distance. But I like the VFR 800 because it looks, from a distance, it looks like a regular sport bike, and you don't really realize its girth and its size until you get up to it. It's probably the slickest looking sport touring machine, in my opinion. Though by today's standards, I don't even think it qualifies as a sport touring bike. But whatever. I don't know. I love my XR.